The Battle of the Great Plains, fought in 203 BCE, was a pivotal engagement in the final years of the Second Punic War. It took place in North Africa between the Roman army commanded by later Scipio Africanus and a combined Carthaginian Numidian force led by Hasdrubal Barca and Syphax, king of the Western Numidians. The battle came after the dramatic burning of the Carthaginian camps and was critical in ending Carthage's chances of winning the war. The Roman victory at the Great Plains permanently weakened the Carthaginian military position in Africa, shattered their remaining alliances, and directly resulted in Hannibal's recall from Italy, paving the way for the decisive Battle of Zama in 202 BCE. Between 210 and 206 BCE, Scipio routed Carthaginian forces in Spain. After conquering New Carthage in 209 BCE and defeating Becula and Ilipa, Scipio forced Carthage to withdraw entirely from Iberia. With Spain secured, Scipio turned his attention to Africa. In 204 BCE, he invaded North Africa to force Carthage to negotiate peace or recall Hannibal from Italy. His campaign included a significant alliance with Massinissa, a Numidian prince and Syphax's adversary, who became an essential Roman ally and provided vital cavalry forces. In early 203 BCE, Scipio launched a surprise attack on the Hasdrubal Barca and Syphax camps near Utica. In an operation known as the Burning of the Carthaginian Camps, Roman and Numidian forces set fire to both enemy camps during a devastating night raid. The outcome was disastrous for the Carthaginian-Numidian alliance. Tens of thousands of troops were killed or routed, Syphax was forced to flee, and Carthaginian morale took a serious hit. However, Hasdrubal and Syphax survived the attack and attempted to regroup. Hasdrubal recruited new troops, including mercenaries and local levies, while Syphax tried to reassemble a force of his remaining Numidian warriors. Determined not to concede defeat, they regrouped and prepared for a final confrontation with Scipio. They gathered their army on the plains near the Bagradus River, inland from the coast, in a vast expanse known as the Great Plains by classical historians. The Great Plains location, possibly in modern-day Tunisia near Siliana or El Kef, was ideal for large-scale deployments, particularly by armies that relied on cavalry and flexible troop movements. Hasdrubal and Syphax believed they could still challenge Scipio, particularly by capitalizing on their numerical advantage and exploiting the open terrain for their superior cavalry. However, the quality and morale of their forces had deteriorated significantly, and many of their troops were raised hastily or with questionable loyalty. Scipio, for his part, acted quickly and confidently. Massinissa marched inland with his disciplined Roman legions and Numidian cavalry to confront the enemy before they could fully rebuild their strength. He aimed to destroy the last major Carthaginian army in the field before Hannibal returned from Italy, forcing Carthage into an unfavorable peace or total defeat. The size of the opposing forces varies. Hasdrubal and Syphax commanded a combined force of 30,000 to 40,000 troops, including infantry, cavalry, and war elephants. Scipio's army was smaller, ranging from 25,000 to 30,000 men, but it comprised seasoned veterans who had previously served under him in Spain and North Africa. The Romans and their Numidian allies had high morale, especially after recent victories. As Scipio approached, he arranged his forces in the traditional Roman formation. The Roman legions occupied the center, with Numidian cavalry under Massinissa and Roman cavalry under Laelius positioned on the flanks. Still reeling from their previous defeat, Hasdrubal and Syphax took defensive positions hoping to disrupt Scipio's lines with their cavalry advantage. They stationed a mix of Carthaginian and Numidian infantry in the center, mercenary units and elephants nearby, and large cavalry contingents on either flank. The battle began with both sides cautiously approaching engagement range. However, Scipio struck decisively. He ordered a quick cavalry assault on both flanks, hoping to disrupt the enemy cavalry before it could flank the Roman infantry. Massinissa, now fighting in his homeland and determined to destroy his rival Syphax, commanded the left wing zealously. The Numidian cavalry fought valiantly, and Laelius's Roman cavalry supported them with precision. On both flanks, the Carthaginian Numidian cavalry could not withstand the disciplined attacks and began to falter. Meanwhile, the Roman legions in the center made steady progress against the disorganized and demoralized Carthaginian and mercenary infantry. The initial resistance was minimal. Many of the enemy soldiers became discouraged as they witnessed the cavalry rout on their flanks. The Roman infantry, with their superior training, discipline, and cohesion, advanced with devastating results. Elephants were supposed to disrupt Roman lines, but they proved ineffective and sometimes confused their own troops. As the battle progressed, the enemy flanks collapsed, allowing Scipio's cavalry to surround the remaining Carthaginian forces. The classic Roman tactic of double envelopment, which had failed miserably against Rome at Cannae, was now used against Carthage. The Carthaginian and Numidian troops were either slaughtered or forced to surrender after becoming trapped in a tightening ring of Roman steel. Few people managed to escape. Hasdrubal fled the battlefield and eventually returned to Carthage in disgrace. Syphax fled to his capital, Cirta, only to be pursued mercilessly by Massinissa and Laelius. He was ultimately apprehended and returned in chains. His defeat signaled the end of Western Numidia as a Carthaginian ally, and Massinissa's final ascension to the throne of United Numidia, a critical Roman ally for the rest of the war and the years that followed. The Battle of the Great Plains was a crushing and complete victory for Rome. It not only destroyed the last major Carthaginian army in Africa, but it also eliminated Carthage's most crucial ally. The defeat shattered any remaining Carthaginian confidence, leaving Carthage vulnerable. Following the battle, Carthage sought peace, sending envoys to Scipio to negotiate terms. Confident in his position, the Roman general proposed harsh terms, including Carthage's surrender of its fleet, territories outside Africa, and disbandment of its armies. While Carthage initially agreed to the terms and Scipio dispatched representatives to Rome to ratify the treaty, political forces within Carthage, motivated by desperation and nationalist pride, decided to summon Hannibal back from Italy. Hannibal, who had spent more than 15 years campaigning in Italy without being decisively defeated, returned to North Africa with the remnants of his army. The stage was thus set for Scipio and Hannibal's final confrontation at the Battle of Zama. The impact of the Battle of the Great Plains was profound. First, it eliminated Carthage's chances of winning the war through continental alliances or defensive campaigns. It had lost its best African general, a Numidian ally, and the last major army capable of opposing Rome. The Romans had gained a decisive advantage on the African battlefield. Second, the battle solidified Massinissa's reign as king of Numidia. His rise radically altered the balance of power in North Africa, as Numidian cavalry would now accompany Rome in all future military operations, including Zama. Massinissa's alliance with Rome also ensured Carthage's permanent encirclement after the war, as it had lost its only significant local ally. Third, the battle demonstrated Scipio's continuing mastery of strategy and tactics. Unlike previous Roman generals who relied on brute force and confrontation, Scipio employed psychological warfare, deception, diplomacy, and battlefield innovation. His leadership in the African campaign demonstrated Rome's growing military prowess. The Battle of the Great Plains in 203 BCE was one of the final nails in Carthage's coffin during the Second Punic War. It occurred after the destruction of Carthaginian camps, effectively ending Carthage's ability to resist Scipio's invasion. With Syphax captured and Hasdrubal defeated, Carthage had no remaining generals capable of defending its territory, forcing it into peace talks and Hannibal's desperate recall. The battle demonstrated the maturity of Roman military doctrine and Scipio's brilliance as a commander. More than a military engagement, It signaled Carthage's demise as a Mediterranean power and the rise of Roman hegemony in the Western world.